Hello everyone, and welcome to another question of the week. This one is part two of the last one, which was about Dragon Ball Super, anime, and movies. Not the manga because I'm still reading the manga and I still want to notice the changes as we go along. The last chapter that I read, I think, was chapter 13. So it was at the end of Universe 6 versus Universe 7, and Zeno had just showed up and said, "Ooh, this is fun." Like, at first, he was like, "You didn't get approval for this. What's going on? A cross universe battle, like, what? I didn't approve." And then he watched and he was like, "Actually, I like this." So the wheel started spinning, I guess. But the first, before we answer, we go through more of people's answers on Discord and in the DMs. I have Discord DMs and I have Patreon DMs that I need to try and get to everyone. But before we get to that, I thought this would be a nice time. Since it has to do with one of the movies, I kind of want to read the special bonus story, Dragon Ball Minus, The Departure of the Fated Child. So we did have a conversation last week about the retcons, and definitely the way that Goku got to Earth and all kinds of things were changed, but there was a more heated conversation about whether or not the Saiyans were inherently evil. Like, obviously, some people interpret it that way, but the heated argument came from someone like making it factual, but then apparently the delay caused kind of like it made it look like something, but then it wasn't something. So I don't know. I don't want to get into the whole thing again, but basically, um, I think Booty, you said you chatted and he doubled down on the fact thing, but then you guys talked and he realized like actually he kind of changed his mind. So if you want to summarize your thoughts in the comments of this video, I would love to, because it was kind of a conversation that you and Booty had, so I don't know really what I would like to see the kind of thought process that, and if you eventually did change your mind, would be very interesting. About, Saiyans being inherently evil. We chatted and he ended up changing his mind. Oh, Shoru, you didn't miss anything. Okay, so in the live chat, we have Bernard Espada, Shoru, Booty, Joan, Odinoko, Menti, Cherry is here. She hasn't seen DBS. I've seen clips and I don't mind being spoiled. I doubt I'll ever watch it. Her brothers are big, your brothers are big Dragon Ball fans, right? But Cherry, not yet. How about your husband? Is he a fan? Maybe you'll enjoy. If you have kids, especially sons someday, I think you might watch it someday. But by then it'll be, you'll forget everything from today. So it's fine. Dark Shadow is lurking. Nevis is also here. Bernard joined us. Let's go. Dragon Ball Minus. I won't be showing the screen. I'll just show some of the pictures here and there. There's a Facebook link where I'm reading it, so you can just. Your husband read all the manga? That's a keeper. Okay, so here we go. The Departure of the Fated Child. It starts with the belligerent Saiyans were fighting day and night under the evil ruler Frieza to take over various planets. What is belligerent? So we see on the very first page Bardock fighting some creatures on a planet so that they can obviously conquer it and to sell it off. That's Frieza's business model, we know. So Mr. Bardock, Bardock, which one's correct? Oh, hostile, aggressive, and eager to fight or argue. So, Bardock, we've been ordered to retreat. All Saiyans are to return to planet Vegeta immediately. What? All Saiyans? But what for? And then in the next page, they're flying back. It's been a while since we've been back. But what's the meaning of this? Apparently, it was an order from that damn Frieza. I've never heard of anything like this before. Take your scatter off, they'll hear you. Oh, right. Look, it's Frieza's ship. You're right. What's going on? What's it doing here? I have a hunch there's more to this than what we've been told. What do you mean by that? You're thinking too much. Uh, then, just like in the movie, this was all handled in the Broly Super movie, right? Hey, Burdock, long time, Bardock, long time no see. Good to see that you're still alive. Hey, have you heard anything about why we were summoned? Nah, maybe he found a really juicy planet or something. Oh, the guys from Frieza's army were asking about a Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan? As in the legendary Super Saiyan? Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God. Master Frieza, I'm sure they're just the usual heroic legends that we hear about all the time. I know, but I can't overlook even the slightest possibility. Anyhow, the Saiyan race are but too proud to be truly loyal to me. It's about time I wiped them out along with their planet. So, he heard these rumors. He wasn't necessarily sure that they were true or anything, and he wasn't actually shivering in his boots or anything. And no one forced him into anything. He just decided, you know what, it's about time before something goes wrong. Let me just get. He wants to be 10 steps ahead. This is a pity. The Saiyans make really good combatants. By the way, how many Saiyans have returned to planet Vegeta so far? Most of them should be back in another month or so, but it will probably take a little longer for every single one to be back. I cannot wait that long. We will execute our plan in a month's time. So I don't think in the movie it was a month. It kind of like they sped it along, like as if they've already been arriving maybe for a week or so. But won't the surviving Saiyans suspect you? I'll just tell them a huge meteor fell on the planet. Coincidentally, at the exact time when all the Saiyans were summoned. Whoops. Don't you need to go back? You are the prince. Forget it. We'll just pretend we didn't hear it. So that's Vegeta and Goku's older brother. Oh, welcome home, Bardock. Yeah, welcome home. There are only several thousand Saiyans living on planet Vegeta. Being a warmongering race, they cannot increase their population that easily. I think that's because they end up fighting each other a lot, just as much as they fight others. And they conquer each other and they're loyal to each other maybe for as long as, there's an alpha or something. I'm not sure. But I think that anyone that doesn't fall in line probably gets. So that's why it would be easy to assume that, oh, well, they're all evil inherently. They must be born that way because that's all we see. But that's like if you cultivate a garden, you choose what is allowed to grow in the garden. You know what I'm saying? You plant certain flowers, you give them certain foods, you pull out the weeds, whatever a weed is to you, it's kind of like it's just like any no, not really the same because they're still all Saiyans, but I think my garden analogy works well enough. Okay, let's move on. There are only several thousand Saiyans living on planet Vegeta. Being a warmongering race, they cannot increase their population that easily. Hey, I'm home, Jine. Bardock. The town sounds like we're having a festival. Yeah, it's because everybody's back. Where's Raditz? He's already a combatant. He was sent to some planet with Prince Vegeta, but it's a far off planet, so he hasn't come back yet. Prince Vegeta, huh? That's one pain in the neck to have as a partner. Is Kakarot still inside the incubator? Yeah, it's been 3 years, so 3 years! I'll get him out soon. Do you want to see him? He's grown big. Yeah, he looks just like you, especially that unique hairdo. I'll go steal his space pod at night. We're going to launch him to a different planet. What? Why do we have to do that now? Being an infiltration baby can be very dangerous. It's for his own safety. What? What do you mean? Frieza's up to something. I sense the presence of death. It's not like you to be worried about your kid. I must have gotten it from you because you're such a softie. Or like, I imagine him saying like, she's a mine. No, that just sounds. No, never mind. I would like to know what the Japanese word they used there was. Calm down, Kakarot. So, oh, he's crying and crying. Why can't we all escape somewhere together? We can't. They'll find us with the scouters. I've programmed the pod to head for a distant planet called Earth. The planet has plenty of food, but the humans and natural resources are not worth much. It will be the perfect place for him. If Bardock's wrong, we'll come and get you as soon as we can. Remember, you mustn't look up at the moon for too long. I'll tell Raditz about this too. You have to stay alive. Take care. Shmogaku. And that is when something happens. Shui. What is it? Shui. And watch out for the oh wait, it goes up. Shui. And watch out for the Galactic Patrol. So then the pod goes to Earth and they look up at it together and at the Galactic Patrol headquarters. Your Galactic Highness, you called for me, your best man, which means you must have an important mission. Yes, I'd like you to leave right away for the planet Earth. A projectile has been launched in the direction of that planet from planet Vegeta. Earth? Earth is still a developing planet ruled by a weak and immature race. The Saiyans must have sent a child, so it should be a simple task for even a klutz, a highly skilled member like you. I checked the data on the planet, and these Earthlings seem like extremely sinister people. If they're not worth protecting from the Saiyans, can I make the choice of annihilating them instead? That's fine, but you should reach Earth a few days before the Saiyans, so do a thorough investigation first. This was not in the movie. This chapter one of the. This is how the chapter of the Jacko manga starts. Jacko the Galactic blah blah blah. And then he rushes off. Yoo-hoo! Annihilation! Wow. Is it really okay to let Jacko handle this case? It's not a very important planet anyway. The Galactic King must have appointed him since we've got nothing to lose in either case. And so Jacko and the Saiyan child, who will later be known as Son Goku, headed toward the planet Earth. It was only a short while later that the planet Vegeta was vaporized along with the many Saiyans there. Eventually, that fated child grew up to become a fine man and would unknowingly face his nemesis, Frieza. And that's how it ends. It's good. It's good in the chapter, but they really did a great job in the movie. They kind of summarized it. So only the end is really different, because it ends with Jacko, and I don't think there was Jacko in the movie there, right? Okay. Hmm. And this is the interview that you don't wanted to read until you reach the manga. Okay. What? Let me read it from my PC because it's just easier that way. What sort of person was Bardock's wife? In other words, Goku's mother. This is a question to Toriyama. As for her appearance, you'll find out if you read the bonus comic in the collected release of Jacko the Galactic Patrolman. Her name was Ginny, and a long time ago, she fought on a 4-person team together with Bardock. What? She's in the bonus comic? Please tell us about Ginny in more detail. She had a gentle personality and was not cut out as a warrior, being repeatedly saved from danger by Bardock. At that time, a special emotion was born between them. Normally, Saiyans don't have much of a notion of romance or marriage, and apart from the royal family of Vegeta, they are not particular about blood relationships. Being among all that, I suppose you could say that the pair were those rare Saiyans who were joined by a bond other than for reproductive purposes. Incidentally, Jenny, who was not cut out as a warrior, would go on to work at the meat distribution center on planet Vegeta. Cause the Saiyans gotta eat. Please tell us about Bardock's family structure. Did Goku and also Bardock himself have any siblings apart from Raditz? The quartet of Bardock, Jenny, Raditz, and Kakarot made up Bardock's family, such as it is, but all 4 of them were never together. I think that Bardock himself might have had siblings, but perhaps even Bardock doesn't really know. At any rate, he probably has no interest in it. Saiyans don't have much of a concept of family. Yeah, because they were all about like strength and conquering. I mean, if you're born naturally strong, so you can't really talk about like nature versus nurture. That's like a whole other conversation, right? But the only other thing I know that I remember that we know is that, wait, they destroyed their own planet before or something. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be. And then that's when they moved to this Tsufurian planet, and they eventually like went to war with the Tsufurians, and they beat them and they took their weapons. But I think the Tsufurians could put up some fight because they had these great weapons. So the but the weapons were later integrated into the Frieza army because they didn't only utilize the Saiyans' great strength, but also maybe, the unique weaponry, the unique scouters. But yeah, they were quickly conquered by Frieza. No, wasn't it first Frieza's dad, and then it was handed over to Frieza? Their original planet Sarada was destroyed, and they moved to another planet that they conquered and then named Planet Vegeta. Because he was the reigning Vegeta's dad, also named Vegeta, was the reigning king at the time. Oh, they ended up winning with the help of the Ozaru. Hmm. Missed the opportunity for fans to see Saiyan Nappa with a yellow beard. Yellow? Nappa? And a part of the interview that I was asked to show you of Toriyama talking about the Saiyan of the legend for the first and only time, it's kind of related to this DB minus comic since that's what started it all, okay? was the legendary Super Saiyan that Frieza feared, the Super Saiyan God that appeared in Battle of Gods. In a certain sense, they're the same person. That is to say, very long ago, before Planet Vegeta was the Saiyans' planet, there was a man. Oh, wait, before Planet Vegeta was their planet, there was a man named Yamoshi who had a righteous heart despite being a Saiyan. He and his 5 comrades started a rebellion. But he was. Wait, I thought. Oh, wait, but that. Wasn't there a Bardock movie that made it kind of seem like he was. Wait, no, I don't know. No, it's been too long. So, anyway, Yamoshi, he had a righteous heart despite being a Saiyan. So, in other words, similar to Superman's dad in a sense. Like they had a specific culture at the time. Like I'm basing this off the last movie that I watched. They had a very specific culture, but they started realizing we're going down this path, but maybe we shouldn't be. And they started doing things differently, right? He and his 5 comrades started a rebellion. So yeah, that's kind of like Superman. But it wasn't 5 comrades, it was literally just him and his wife. He was cornered by combatants and became a Super Saiyan for the first time, though his transformation and fearsome fighting style shocked the other Saiyans. Outnumbered, Yamoshi eventually wore himself out and was defeated. But this was only the beginning of his legend. Afterwards, Yamoshi's spirit wandered in continuous search of 6 righteous-hearted Saiyans. Oh, seeking a new savior, the Super Saiyan God. So he looked for other people who also developed because like you can be born into a specific culture. I think history is a very good example of that. Like I don't know what is the best example, but like you can be born into a culture and you can have a certain beliefs or whatever ingrained into you as a kid, but that doesn't mean you actually grow up thinking or believing those things. More often than not, in the real life, you push back against the stuff that's kind of like forced on you as a kid. But as far as I understand it, I mean, they were put into pods for what, 3 years? So I think it's kind of more difficult to break out of that kind of social conditioning or mental conditioning than it would be for, any of us. There is a Bardock OVA, but it's never been canon. It's just a fun what if. Right. None of the movies were ever canon. They were always kind of like just more fun to kind of post for people, and depending on how popular it was, people started making it canon in their heads. But it was a lot of the movies and stuff, it was never really Toriyama. It was just kind of like his designs, maybe some help here and there, but it was mostly the studio itself wanting to make the movies and everything. I think the best example would be Buddha. Mm. I remember he was like a really rich kid. He renounced a life of royal luxury to seek the root of human suffering. Through deep meditation, he attained enlightenment. All right, right, right. He was born in Lumbini, modern day Nepal, to the ruling Shakya clan. Gautama was raised in extreme wealth and privilege. So, if you're born in, that's an extreme but good example. Like, if you're born into a specific culture or environment, you are more likely to develop certain kinds of properties and personality traits or whatever. But it's the whole nature versus nurture argument. Um, and we even talked about this in the Superman movie when we said just because like it's very difficult to break away out of social conditioning and even propaganda to some extent, right? There must have been like some kind of, if we really delved into this world and fleshed it out, there must have been like kind of Saiyan propaganda and stuff. Even Frieza eventually, once he took them over, like, yeah, it can't be easy to develop a righteous heart in an environment like that. But that, yeah, none of that ever told me personally that they're born that way. Like, that's a whole other conversation. From the old material, only the Future Trunks special would be really canon since it got a manga special chapter 2. Even if the TV special heavily expanded and changed a couple of things. Okay. So, yeah. I think any interpretation is fine, but especially based off of this interview where he said a Saiyan with a righteous heart. It shows to me that despite everything about the culture and stuff, they were still born with the potential for good, just like any ningen. What are they called? Mortal. Just like any mortal. Uh, everyone's born with the potential of either good or bad inside them. It's just like whatever wolf you feed, right? I love how Toriyama dropped the lore about Yamoshi all of a sudden. I wonder how much more lore and stuff he had in his head but never used it or got the time to tell. I can't imagine. Like, imagine you have this world, but the most fun thing to know is that Dragon Ball was never supposed to be this long. Like, it was always just a short little gag manga, and then it got so popular. And imagine just being as creative as he is, and then like the story spilling out from there. So at that point, I think me and Espada were talking about it. At that point, since everything, maybe this won't be the right way to say it. I can't remember what we talked about exactly. But in that sense, everything is a retcon in a sense because he had none of it planned out from beginning to end. Just those first couple of chapters, just that gag. And then it just kind of, went from there. He didn't plan ahead, but he loved to come back and expand the universe with more and more new lore. That's, I think, one of his biggest strengths, obviously. And I think it takes a very creative person to do that. That's awesome. If Toriyama's works collab will be Fire, Dragon Ball, Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger. If Toriyama's works collab, oh, you mean like they all kind of link? I don't know if that's still possible at this point, though. Okay, but let's jump to the anime chat. You pinned where I left off, right? So I read Gabriel's message. He talked about how special it is, not necessarily because it's my favorite, but because of his friends. It got a lot of his friends into watching anime, and they kind of, I think that must have been crazy when Super was coming out weekly and people got together to watch. Ooh, that's one of the things I need to react to after this. I will only be posting that video for my patrons though, but there's some watch parties that people got together in like bars and stuff. I look forward to watching that. Okay, then I did read Jones. I DM'd you some of my thoughts. So I'm going to say more, but focus more on the anime. I'll try to sum it up, but let's just say Super was an experience. Whether good or bad would depend on the episode I was watching at that week. So is John here? Did I read, oh, there's John. Did I read your DM last week? Do you remember? I genuinely loved so many concepts and just the whole idea behind about the universe and how it about the universe and how it massively expands what we knew about Dragon Ball. It's so cool, but sadly, most of it, like most have said, it was done poorly some of the time, most of the time. One thing I'm happy with Super though is that its existence brought Dragon Ball to the minds of people. It introduced Dragon Ball to a new generation and it encouraged many to experience the story from the beginning for the first time or just rewatch to catch up. It made possible that we got new movies and I'm very happy that it existed or that it exists. I hope they learn from their mistakes and I'm praying that whatever Toei is cooking this time is good because it would be sad to have the same story done wrong again. So today's episode of One Piece kind of made me feel like I think we talked about it a little bit last time, but someone else mentioned that the way things have been going with in Wano with since Wano with One Piece, that gives them hope for the future of, Toei content in general. But for me, it isn't Wano, it's Elbaf. Wano and the flashing lights, dear Lord, and the late. But like today's episode of One Piece showed me, oh my gosh, they know, they learned, I don't know if Dragon Ball is going to be the same because Dragon Ball has a lot more potential to keep flashing lights and all kinds of things because of the kind of powers, but I considering what Wano was and what I'm seeing in Elbaf, I feel like they have learned a balance and that they don't necessarily need to blind people just to impress them. Like the story and the characters, I don't want to say they're enough, but don't overshadow them just with every single flashy animation thing that you can think of. Like you know what I'm trying to say? So I'm looking forward to anything that Toei makes in the future because Elbaf has made me feel like they have grown so much and they have learned balance. I don't know. Doji says Wano is what Dragon Ball should be, but not One Piece. True. Wano looked better than Super. Definitely. Definitely. Is there any movie of One Piece coming soon? I doubt it. They're busy with the anime right now. They could take a longer anime break and come out with a movie. But then what's the point of taking an anime break if all the animators are going to be working on the movie? So I think they're just busy with the manga and the story and everything right now. But in the future, hopefully. Okay, here's Odinoko's message. Dragon Ball Super anime. I like some of it. Both tournaments, I think, have the best and worst parts of DBS, but let's start from the beginning, Battle of Gods. I didn't like the movie when I first saw it, but in retrospect, it does something that had been forgotten by Zed. That had been forgotten by Zed time in pitting Goku against an enemy he really can't defeat, showing that no matter how far he goes in life, he still has growing to do. Plus, I like how it shows Vegeta swallowing his pride and willingness to protect his family. Then Return of Frieza. Cool fights. I like Jacko as a side character, but I'm not a fan of how contrived it felt at the time. With Goku forgetting lessons that he'd been taught before, letting himself be open for a cheap shot, a contrivance that only compounds with Vegeta. You're using these words for Dragon Ball fans? Contrivance that compounds? The contrivance that compounds with Vegeta somehow being ready to eliminate Frieza, but Frieza blowing up the planet in 2 seconds just so Goku could steal the kill on the retry. Funny, yes. Consistent with the character, yes. But underwhelming and contrived, sadly, also yes. First tournament arc. It has... Ooh. Okay, sorry, I had to take a moment to roll. First tournament arc. Odinoko says it has some low points. Blue bowling us with Majin Buu and Piccolo having token appearances, establishing Piccolo as the king of aura farming because other than that he doesn't do shit. But it also has Vegeta showing some great character development, willing to first take a mentor in Wiz and then also become a teacher to Kaba. He then gets taken out by the final bad guy, but that's just business as usual. And then the Future Trunks return arc. The less I talk about it, the better. I honestly barely remember what I saw, and seeing it through Kayla's eyes made it worse. It makes little sense, and it also piles on the tragedy to a point I just stopped caring, because the amount of pile-ups breaks the fourth wall in a way that a series shouldn't. There's an unspoken contract between creator and audience that you will have investment in the story as long as the story is internally consistent, and they broke their side. Tournament of Power arc. Wait, I have a question. Did that guy ever respond to my comment? The one that was talking about. He said, well, actually, a lot of people said it. He did not. A lot of people said it. Where is my reply? Where is it? Here. So he said, and this is about the Future Trunks arc. He said, am I crazy? I feel like this isn't that hard to understand. It seems like you're confusing yourself. And then I said, okay, explain it to me simply. And that's been like over 24 hours ago, almost 2 days now, I think. And he has not responded with a simple explanation. However, at least 10 people try to explain the Future Trunks arc because it's so simple, but not a single one of them said the same thing. They all understood it differently, but it was very simple to them. Okay, so that's always fun. Then Ordinoko says, Tournament of Power arc, my favorite. I really enjoy most of the matchups, and I like that characters who were previously discarded, as in half the main cast, got their time to shine. When I first saw the promo for it, I singled out 17 for no reason other than amusement. So when he made it past the end, I felt so vindicated. Seeing Boo's retraction again felt stupid, but at least he had the pre-match, and that was fun to see. As is usual, it starts piling up crap at the last minute to rise the stakes, but it led to some really cool fights. So, ones for others. I love the ending. It's appropriately climactic. It has the most unexpected team up from Zit. Oh, because it was Frieza and 17 and Goku. Yeah. It ties thematically into the core message of the show, which only makes it more annoying when power scalers discuss it, but that's another topic. All in all, DBS is a fun ride, but I can't put it above DB or Z. It feels like Coke Zero at some points, in that I like drinking it, but it's not the original flavor. Then, about the DBS movies, still Odinoko. Everything I dislike about DBS series is absent from the movies. Broly. This movie is near perfect. The quintessential DBZ experience, with half of it dedicated to establishing the characters, which is not only Broly, Goku, and Vegeta, but the Saiyan race as a whole. For the first time, we see them framed as an actual civilization instead of the backstory for Goku and Vegeta. We'll learn that not everyone was a fighter, not everyone was bloodthirsty, and the way Frieza introduces something as simple and already known as the Scouter frames it as a leash to rule over them. Paragus is tragic, not out of himself, but because he tries to escape the trapping of his own culture without realizing just how ingrained they are on him. He loves Broly to a point, and he's nothing but cordial to Beats, but he doesn't hesitate to off him when his back is against the wall, and his bitterness makes him raise Broly the worst possible way, since he is taken by revenge against an uncaring tyrant, Vegeta Sr., only to be found by a worse one. Bardock is similarly sad. I know some people dislike this part because it's an add-in of a manga one-off called Dragon Ball Minus, which retcons the Bardock movie away and frames him as a hero. But I like how but even in the Bardock movie, as far as I remember, he tried to save his people. He tried to warn them. Like, you have to some extent care to go around looking like an idiot saying, escape, like leave, like he, you know, like even then he was he kind of looked like heroic, if that's maybe the wrong word, but Bardock could have flee and save himself, but he tried to save everybody. Like an inherently evil person doesn't do that. Like you're still a conquering race. There's still some sense of camaraderie. I like how it's shown here. He still has no problem being a world conqueror, but he's smarter than just a regular bruiser. He picks up the clues that the animosity between the Saiyans and their employer has reached a breaking point, and Frieza will take them out due to a legend if he feels threatened enough. I know some people don't like Goku turning into Superman by origin story, but I think he plays the part different enough that the key differences make him endearing. Whilst Kal-El ultimately found guidance by his alien parents to become the hero he was meant to be, Goku instead forgot everything until destiny came knocking at his door. And by that time, he was already the strongest champion of the Earth. Um, it was always kind of inspired by Superman, right? So I honestly didn't mind that it was just slightly more aligned with that kind of inspiration. And today I watched a movie called Yojimbo, which to some extent was inspired by something called a novel called The Glass Key or something. And then Yojimbo itself later inspired other movies. What were those two movies called? My point is that stories inspire stories. It's not like if you have a good framework and you build something different around that. Bye, Modru. Thank you. See you on the Discord. Oh, it was A Fistful of Dollars, and there was one with the guy from Die Hard that was also inspired by Yojimbo. So yeah, if the framework's good, I don't really care. So I like in that sense, because I also like Superman, I like that they just kind of like added a little bit more Superman like details. But more than that, Goku's journey. So that might be a little bit of his history, but Goku's whole journey was more inspired by, and his character, a journey to the West, right? So as long as it never departs from, for me, everything was kind of built around Goku, and then it just expands outward from there. But as long as the key character and the key, like if you're gonna retcon something, just make sure the basics feel the same, and then I'll be happy, I guess. Okay. Odinoko also said the opening scene in present time is fun. It does something that was lacking in the non-canon movies. Wait, are you talking about the same movie or the next one? It establishes the characters, shows us Goku and Vegeta having a fun sparring, which sets up the action, their friendly rivalry, and other characters like Bulma, Wiz, and Beerus, even if he steps away from it right after. The parallel between Bulma and Frieza wanting the Dragon Balls for similarly petty wishes, oh, it is the first movie, is not only funny, but it reframes Frieza as a character. In Z, he was pretty straightforward in his ruthlessness, but now he's taking himself less seriously because he knows he's no longer the strongest being in the universe. I almost want to say, like, he's always been this weird good boss type character, right? But he was insanely cocky. It's not even cockiness at that point. I think he almost believed himself to be as strong as a god at that point, but then he was defeated. So yeah, I don't think that he takes himself less seriously, but he was to some extent humbled and humanized to a point where, yeah, maybe he could tell himself being a bit taller would be nice. But I think that's mostly comedy. Even if he still strives to that goal, now he knows that he can't just outlast the Saiyans. So, in the best callback to the original DB, he wants to grow 5 centimeters. Oh, yeah, because being immortal, he's learned like that's not really. His nanny and his underling flanking him instead of his bodyguards before also make him funnier. Oh, right. The, what were they called? The something force, the Frieza force, but that wasn't their only name. His special forces had a dance of joy prepared for him. It was always a bit silly. But even he looked at them like, yeah, yeah. Ginyu forces, thank you, yeah. Yeah, that was. They were a funny bunch even back then, but he was more. I think also the style though made him look a bit more imposing to me in Z at times. He was a more he was a different style. Everything around Broly himself is amazing. I got so annoyed at a reviewer, though he was more of a reteller, for dismissing the first half of the movie as sitcom crap. Because I think Chilai, Lemo, and the Broly are the best part of the movie. Their interactions are genuine, funny, and at the parts really sad and endearing. You see Broly and you understand that he is what he is in spite of himself, but doesn't know any better, due to that same upbringing. I can't get mad at him for defending his father because he's the only person that he's known, and despite the literal leash Paragus gave him, I think they did care for each other in a genuine manner. Well, codependency. And that's all you know. Like, do you I think love is something that you choose. Like your parents can raise you, but then when I think love really becomes love. I mean, as a kid, you love your parents in one sense, but when you're an adult and you can actually like choose to go to them or not, like, but there was no choice involved ever for Broly. So I don't know if I would, but you can never really say. He was attached to him, sure. Anyway, the action part of the movie arrives halfway into it, and it's great. The start with Vegeta shows him at his best, dominating the fight almost all the time, and showing just how big of a gap Super Saiyan God power is when he only needs to, to throw compressed air to throw Broly off. Huh? I don't understand that part. The action part arrives halfway. The start with Vegeta The start with Vegeta shows him at his best. Oh, the start shows Vegeta at his best, dominating the fight almost all the time and showing just how big of a gap Super Saiyan God power is when he only needs to throw compressed air to throw Broly off. I feel like I'd have to see the scene play out. Like, I haven't seen it. What? It's been 2, 3 weeks now, so I can't remember that exact moment, but Soto said, it just wasn't for me. I can see why so many people enjoy it, but it didn't have the same appeal as the older Dragon Ball series. It wasn't my kind of show. The movies I haven't watched yet, so I'm not sure about them at the moment. But I hope that he can watch them because I really think they bring back what made Zit and original Dragon Ball great. It felt more, those two movies felt more like Dragon Ball than Super ever did to me. Mr. Drakenschnado says, I haven't watched DBS, so a short response for me today. When I was watching as a kid, I started to check out the series towards the end of DBZ, and then GT was an utter disappointment. After rewatching both with your reactions, those feelings were confirmed to still be true. Back then, I didn't care at all when DBS started airing. It wasn't something that I considered watching, and apart from seeing a few things here and there, I had no idea about anything to do with the anime or manga. Due to the timing of your reactions during the stream, I was only partially watching the episodes along with you, but even that was enough to confirm that there's very little in DBS for me, and I'm glad that I didn't waste my time when it was airing. There are clearly a lot of issues and bad parts, but I'm not trying to say it's trash. It's just that, for the most part, the direction of the story, characters, and world doesn't appeal to me at all. That makes sense. I still think you'd like the movies, though, if you liked Dragon Ball. But yeah, no pressure to watch. Vegeta is most fun to watch while he dominates a fight, while Goku is more fun to watch while he struggles and fights his way back ahead of his enemy. Ordinoko then continued. The explanation of Broly's power coming from rage is equally amazing, since it's the closest DBS has gotten to GT Super Saiyan 4, and I'm really glad they didn't mention that they had seen something similar with Kale, because it would have taken away from the moment. Goku's fight is just as cool, and I like that small moment where Goku tries to reason with Broly because he isn't just a ruthless killer either. I like how the transformations are visually framed with Vegeta's SSJ starting green, his god form engulfed in flames, and Goku's SSJB showing flicks of Ultra Instinct in the process. That's more detail, visual detail than I can also remember. The callback of Frieza killing Paragus the same way Paragus killed Beats, and with a similar motivation of ruthless practicality, is striking. And Frieza's overacting to Broly over it is hilarious. Yeah, Frieza is just hilarious in general. Speaking of, he's such an entertaining character, even in the Tournament of Power. The way Broly finally becomes Super Saiyan is a level of drama we hadn't seen since the first Super Saiyan transformation, or maybe Gohan's too, but he's not in this movie. The details in each scene are way too many, so I'll just mention that Gogeta was a wholly unexpected character, and he shines in the way he fights, how he moves. I think that by the end, he's not actually stronger than Green Broly, but the sum of Goku's martial training and Vegeta's warrior education makes him fight smarter, which in turn frames Broly as an uncaged beast. Right until the last attack, when we see his irises return to his eyes, I think, I don't want him to die. I love how it was solved. Sheila is best girl, and I will take no criticism. The ending is heartwarming and perfect for what we got. And here's Waleed's thoughts on Super. I feel like if someone is watching this back, it would be nice to just listen to and like reply to certain parts with timestamps. Or just, listen to it as a podcast, hear people's thoughts, and then write your own in response. So I'm hoping for some comments. I don't think the last one got any, though. So for part two, I'm not expecting a lot, but I'll go take a look in a minute. But I like reading through everyone's thoughts, so. Waleed says, I had low expectations for DBS since episode 1 because it's already hard to have the same DBZ levels after 18 years. And the Ref Frieza movie, which I didn't like much, proved to me it's that I shouldn't have much expectations. And that was the right thing that I did, because a lot of other fans has a lot of expectations of Super at first, and that's what made them hate it. I honestly didn't really. Who hates it? Like, it's very few people that I think hate it. Anyone that dislikes it doesn't like Sotos. He just doesn't watch it. So like I can't imagine like people really hating on it. Except now that we're talking about it, sure, not everyone. Now in retrospect, I feel like people notice more about the visuals. But okay, Espada, you are an exception. You are an exception. But like from the reviews that I read as I was going and like the scores of the episodes, it's quite it's but yeah, so I guess the only ones that watched my reactions and interacted with them the most would have been the people who like it a lot. So they were obviously watching the reaction. So that's who I was mostly in contact with, I guess. That's why I can't. Like it's difficult to believe there's someone else that complained because the only people that ever talked to me were the ones that were mad at me for complaining at parts. You know? Because a lot of other fans has a lot of expectations and that is what made them hate on it. I think that Super took a different direction for its arcs that was mostly peaceful and slice of life, unlike most of what happened in Z. But for me, I like both directions and I want to see the characters interact for both ways. The animations. Oh my gosh, I don't like what they did with it. How could you do that to Dragon Ball series and have that trash schedule for episodes? Thank goodness the the better animations get better in later arcs. Also, I didn't like the character's design by Yamamoto. It's told, and his style is not good for Dragon Ball anymore. Thankfully, they changed him in the DBS Broly movie and after that. What I liked about Super the most is the characters and mostly the newer characters like Wiz and Beerus. Frieza's character becomes so good later and his style of fighting is good. I like Goku Black as a villain, but they didn't give him and Zamasu justice, and the arcs ended in a bad way. Also, I like Jiren, but I like him more in the manga. And Toppo, who was entertaining. What I didn't like is the Universe 6 Saiyans. I am okay with Magetta and the Botamo. Which other ones were Universe 6? Oh, the Universe 6 Saiyans, like the girls and stuff. So mostly I was okay with Super, and it proved it had so much potential. And it proved that when you give us UI, it was cool. UI is what? Thank you, Honku. I remember Botamo and Magetta when he said the Universe 6 Saiyans. I was like, who? Oh, the girls. And Kabe. On Ultra Instinct. Oh, so he liked Ultra Instinct. And the movies after Super proved to me they got better and better in most of the things that were lacking. And the DBS Broly movie became my favorite movie, and the superhero is my second, and also Beerus movie is my third. Sorry, I wanted to write more, but I'm watching the World Cup. Okay, this is Odinoko's thoughts on the superhero movie. I loved every aspect of it. I love the new characters. I love the callbacks to Dragon Ball. I love that it's mainly Piccolo's movie, with him getting to do something other than stand around and get beaten up. I really like that it keeps a very casual, non endangered tone to the point kidnapping Pan is framed as comedy because she's stronger than the entirety of the Red Ribbon Corps. Save for the gammas, of course. I like the hints that Gohan isn't as weak as he looks, since Piccolo gives him his old weighted clothes, and despite a bit of fumbling, he clearly has no problem staying in them later when the soldier goes to threaten him. I think he was at that point in the movie, he was, how to say, he was in enough. You know how you go through binge watching periods, right? So for one weekend, you just binge it. So he was in like a study mode because of some beetle or something, I don't remember. But I think that he was in his free time every now and then training a bit especially because he was able to use Piccolo's move. Which move was that again? But I personally interpreted it as he's been very focused on his work and he was currently in like an exceptionally focused mode because of some beetle. But I don't think that, like, they have a huge mansion. There's definitely a gym room. I do think that to some extent he didn't train hard, but I think he trained. Gohan unlocking beast mode and his hair turning white was wholly unexpected, but I like it, and I think it's cool that he has his own transformation that piles up beyond the mystic forms. I like the detail where he looks about to lose his mind and get sadistic again, like with OG Cell, which could endanger him and everyone, but Piccolo snaps him out of it with one yell, which keeps him on task. And to crown the focus of the movie, he ends it with an amazing, perfectly delivered Makanko Sappo, which calls back to the defeat of Raditz, of course, but also to the way that Goku beat Piccolo Daimao originally by piercing through him. I wish I could say more because Piccolo's arc has an amazing conclusion, with him now in the mentor role, something that was seen since the Buu saga, and his power up, despite being a literal gift from the gods, is impressive and different enough to SSJ that I can get invested in it. What's the English word? A good detail that Gohan's first Kamehameha was against Cell, and his first Makanko Sappo was against Cell Max. Ah, that is a cool parallel. I love it. Okay. Dio di Warudo. I'm just a little late, but I'll respond. I'm still behind on your reactions. I'm on GT still, but I did see your movie reactions, so I've only seen Super once. As the reactions I've reacted to Super, I think he means the reactions he's watched to Super were only the last episode and Ultra Instinct. That's what got him into watching reactions in the first place, I think. Now for the DBS anime, I've had a rough journey with DBS, which seemed to be your experience as well, but when hearing that DB was finally coming back, with Toriyama at the helm and picking up where the movies left off, just to get a redo was a huge hype killer, especially when you go on the internet and see people trash the art style and compare the anime to the movies. Funny enough, during this time, I actually valued the fillers a lot more than the canon content because it was different, it was new, it was something. I still remember the dirt water Goten was trying to get for Videru and Mr. Satan shenanigans. The fillers also got me back into finishing Dragon Ball. Ow. As at that time of Super, I watched up to the Red Ribbon arc. So one thing I do like is how Super didn't forget its roots. From the fillers and the canon arcs. Wait. From the fillers like Krillin filler about being weak and wanting Goku to punch him, and the canon arcs, the use of the Mafuba to try and stop Black. Super was never afraid to call back to Z and Dragon Ball, compared to GT, which did more callbacks to Z. But the callbacks can also be annoying because they end up reusing plot points that were already resolved. From the last series, looking at you, Gohan and Vegeta, not wanting to Potara fusion and whatever happened in the TOP. I dropped the Super anime at the Universe 6 versus 7 tournament because I was mad that they didn't include Gotenks or Buu in the tournament and the animation was pissing me off. I only picked it up later after hearing hype around the Tournament of Power. So this is what I meant. This is what I was saying before. He hasn't seen my reactions to most of Super. He only saw for like specific moments. So the thing is that the reason why I didn't feel like anyone had anything bad to say about it, and I felt like I was the only one that had some criticisms, it was because the only people sitting through my reactions to the terrible parts were the ones that really love it, despite that. And so, I don't know. But it was mostly towards the end, I think, where people kind of. Because the Lost arc is what people love the most. I feel like here and there, I mean, obviously people understand that the visuals were not the best, but by the time it got to Tournament of Power and the visuals got better, at that point it felt like people weren't standing for any criticisms anymore. Like it got enough better for them to forgive whatever, or just, blindly love anything, I guess. Not exactly like that, but I do feel like, yeah, people like Dio, who clearly was more frustrated than most, um that's why I didn't interact with these people, because they were not watching those parts of the reactions anyway. I dropped the Super Anime at Universe 7 and 6 because I was mad. The animation was pissing me off. I only picked it up later after hearing the hype around the Tournament of Power. At the time I finished the rest of Dragon Ball, loved it, then went to catch up on Super. My overall thoughts of Super is that it has a solid original concepts and ideas, but the execution sometimes falls flat, which is exactly what I said. It makes sense in hindsight when you realize Toriyama wrote the draft of the arcs and the anime studio filled the gaps. To be more concise and rambly, I'll give a review for every arc. Of course, Walid would once again. What is so funny about someone answering like really long things for a question of the week that I specifically asked for? And then there's always someone that has to, like, oh, I'm not reading all of that. Like, it's not, after the first time, it's not that funny. Like, no one asked you to read it. I'm here to read it. Like, it's shocking even to me, but buckle up because I'm excited. This is what I asked for. Many people dropped and came back for Tournament of Power. I wonder how many of those that complained didn't even watch the middle of the show. I don't know. Not that I remember. I skipped half the Zamazu arc and saw the other half at double speed. No wonder I can barely recall shit. That's a lot of people's experience, but then God forbid I sit through it all and then think it's confusing, and then Mr. I won't read all that shit says to me, it's not confusing. I really feel like most people, the ones who think that makes sense, they were not even like they filled in the gaps with their own brain, and that's why it makes sense to them, but they didn't. If you really pay attention, nothing makes sense. Just kidding. My overall thoughts of Super, this is from D.O.D. Warudo, is that it has solid original concepts. Wait, did I read this already? It has solid original concepts and ideas, but the execution sometimes falls flat. First of all, this is his review for the Beerus movie, a great rebirth of Dragon Ball. It introduces one of the most fun characters and has now become a staple for the series. And yes, Beerus is so cool. Wiz is so cool. I love them. I honestly, when I watched, Zit had Frieza, Cell, and Buu. I never thought anyone could top that. I was just kind of like going in thinking, they're the standard, but no, they set the standard, but I was never expecting someone. But then their approach with Wiz and Beerus being like antagonists, but not the same kind, it was so creative and good. They're great characters. He said they have become staples for the series, and the SSG transformation is unique with the ritual and how long it was used. Although it was only a Goku focused story while everyone else was on the sidelines, but that was also the point, to show that only Goku could stand up to the challenge, as it was his influence of pushing Vegeta to want to surpass him. Gohan wanting to live up to his father, and producing Goten, and Vegeta producing Trunks, and Gohan producing Pan is what made them all Super Saiyans, which completed the ritual 10 out of 10. Then the Frieza movie. I didn't like it as much. I've grown to the idea, but I found the concept of Frieza never training at all kind of dumb and unfair, and the cheap way to make Frieza stand a chance now. I understand now it's a good contrast to Goku and even make a bigger metaphor of hard work versus talent, with Frieza never working. The plot was also very similar to Beerus. Goku is away training while the bad guy arrives on Earth and gives the allies trouble, and they hold on until Goku arrives. Here also had the Gohan problem. Ugh, the Gohan problem. The green suit on top and on bottom. My issue with this is that Gohan already had his arc in Buu. I would assume Gohan would learn his lesson then, but I guess not. I'm not on the camp that Vegeta should have killed Frieza, but I believe the way they did it was lame, with the time rewind, which also adds to my issue of early Super, which was the lack of stakes. I like the time rewind. Like, even, I don't know what I felt about it back then. I think I was fine with it. But I like it even more now because of my headcanon about like Zeno being the space god and the angels being like time gods, or like or maybe something in, like, I have some theories regarding the gods in general. I feel like I'm gonna stand, or I'm gonna wind up my disc slowly. Sorry, might be a little bit distracting, but I have some theories regarding their history or what led to them. So, space and time, space and time. I'm just saying, in retrospect, I think it's even cooler. But when Beerus arrived at the planet and Frieza was scared, it kind of killed the fear of him in the movie, reminding us that, yeah, he may be a big bad guy, but he's nothing compared to Beerus, and Beerus might intervene if he decides to. Also, it brought SSB, my least favorite transformation. Oh, Super Saiyan Blue. It's one of the transformation which add to the stigma of DBZ being a screaming match where people change their hair color every fight. I wish it was found through an impactful moment, not just, hi, here's a new transformation, 5 out of 10. So his score for Beerus movie, 10 out of 10. His score for Frieza movie, 5 out of 10. And my score for, I didn't score the first movie because it was on New Year's Eve and I was just kind of like super excited and there was no time. But I scored the second movie a 6.8. And I was always wondering, like, why? But when I read about things like that, again, I'm like, oh, maybe that's why. Mainly, I think it has to do with the transformation happening so fast after Super Saiyan God. Okay. So you're just gonna talk to I'm just gonna be a talking head for a while. Universe 6 versus Universe 7. This was also an arc which had no real stakes, with the goal of just being which planet will belong to who, but compared to the Tenkaichi Budokai, there was no hype of friends fighting each other, and there was no antagonistic contender that you wanted to see their face being punched in like Tien. What I do like is the inclusion of new Saiyans, which put Vegeta in his mentor role. That was a solid direction for Vegeta's character to go, and the use of Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken was actually a cool use of a power-up, and was a good use of nostalgia to incorporate a power from Z. The ending to the arc was not memorable to me because I literally don't remember how it ended, but it was a fun watch when I remember my emotions during the arc. So that's funny because I was reading the manga chapters for those episodes yesterday, or was it yesterday? Yeah. And Kaioken is not in the manga, and it makes so much more sense. I don't remember what I thought about Kaioken in the anime, but I never really think about power scaling, but the moment you think about it, that makes no sense. It's a good way to establish God, like, power levels don't need to make complete sense. It's just, but within the world, it has to have some form of limit, some form. And the Kaioken 10 thing, when you think about it, I don't know. So maybe it's nice as a callback, I understand that, but I prefer the manga version. Then there's the Goku Black arc. This arc is definitely biased for me. It's been a while since I watched it, so I don't remember the intricacies of the improper power systems, but I like the plot of Goku Black with it having actual stakes now, and it's not just a tournament. I agree Trunks' return was a nostalgia bait, but I find his use cool and unique, with the character of Goku Black adding back a mystery of who he was. I was a believer that he was evil Goten, and still kind of think it would have worked instead of Zamasu. And also, it was one of the first villains to believe he was doing something right. Huh? Instead of being evil, and they know it. Like, I love you, Frieza, but I'm talking about you. Well, Frieza, Cell, and Boo. Boo was the most chaotic evil. Frieza was kind of like, he just wanted to rule the world. But he was, yeah, I don't know what kind of, because he would like improve the planet and like sell it off to someone, but Frieza was fucking crazy. And but Cell was also kind of like just made for destruction. But he was so, man, I really need to rewatch. Because I'm trying to remember, okay, the androids were all made to destroy Goku, but Cell went on absorbing everyone like cattle, like, but it wasn't necessarily because he was, I want to kill you. Like, they were sustenance to him. And then he was about perfection and becoming perfect and stronger and but he yeah, no one ever thought they were doing anything good per se, except Zamazu. But the level of delusion. The level of delusion, like the hoops you have to jump through to believe that you're doing the right thing is interesting. So like Zamazu was frustratingly stubborn and blind to his righteous goal, and I was loving it. My favorite part of the arc were the character moments. I prefer characters that are just like they're bad and they don't care about it. They're bad because they want to be bad. That this is this it's like the survival of the fittest, kind of. Boo is the chaos one though. But I hate characters like Zamazu that are I'm doing the right thing. Kill, 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 kill. Like he took that to the most extreme. It's like I've seen it happen too many times by now, you know? My favorite part of the arc were the character moments and the character's study of the arc rather than plot of the story. You have to say things like that. Like, oh, I wasn't even focused on the plot of the story. It didn't really need to make sense for me. I was more focused on the characters. You have to say that. Because the story made no sense. Okay, I'm exaggerating. Kid Trunks giving future Trunks that pep talk was funny and cute. They did drop the ball with the ending, with the universe reset and the multiple different power ups they needed to fight Zamazu really reminded me of Boo, which I didn't like either, but I'm glad that they tried something that was never done before. Tournament of Power. This arc was something that I think I enjoyed a lot more because of how long ago it was for me, so I only remember the highlights. The Tournament of Power reminds me of the Ninja War. A lot of stuff happens in which, in the end, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, and it's only the MC stuff that stands out. I remember some moments of Piccolo's fights, Tien sacrificing himself to eliminate someone, etc. But I think the side cast's best moment were before the tournament. Them preparing and getting recruited added some character moments that I really enjoyed. Master Roshi and Kuririn being on a level to fight alongside Goku is something I can ignore. Hey. What do you mean? Master Roshi and Kuririn being on a level to fight alongside Goku. It's a team fight. Against a team fight. It's not like all of them against Zamazu, where they're fighting alongside each other on the same, like they can match the same level to fight against one crazy enemy. Like, not every single, like, these are actually the weakest universes. That's why they're fighting each other. The strongest ones isn't even in this. Well, I wouldn't even say it's the strongest ones. Someone recently commented something that made it sound like it's the average or the median. Like, the successful universes, the ones that were not under contention for being destroyed, were the ones that, I think, from the weakest to the strongest, it's more close. You know? Like, it's, you know how the rich versus the poor, it's all fine and well until the extremes are too far apart. When the poor is the poorest of the community is too far from the riches of the community. But I mean, there will always be people along the spectrum of, in terms of financials, but this it's the stretch that makes, I think, that where it becomes a real problem. And that's, I think, in my understanding, potentially with Zeno, these universes were failed because the weakest Earthling versus the strongest Goku. What have you been doing with your time? Why? Kind of, I don't remember who said something that made me think of that. I always took it as a mix of strength and how advanced the civilizations are. Knowledge and all of that, not just power. But that would make it, yeah, probably, but that makes it more frustrating that they're fighting only in terms of it's a tournament of power, not a tournament of knowledge and power. I'm also excited for the Goku Black part of the manga, since it was the biggest frustration for me in the anime. So, anyway, my whole point was, I was responding to the part where he said Master Roshi and Kuririn being on a level to fight alongside Goku is something I can ignore. But I don't think it's something you need to ignore, because the people in the, not everyone in the tournament is as strong as Goku. So not everyone, like, not everyone Goku's gonna fight against is as strong as Goku. So not everyone fighting alongside Goku needs to be as strong as him. So why do you need to ignore that? Do you understand my point? It's like it was 80 people, and each universe had stronger and weaker people. So there were people for, while Goku was busy with the strongest, you need to have people like Kuririn and Roshi and everyone else that deals with others. Because think about, what's that? The one from the interview? Yamoshi. He was, he became Super Saiyan for the first time, but he was outnumbered. So my point is, no matter how strong Goku was, he would have been outnumbered without some people like Kuririn and Roshi around him. So yeah, I just don't like I can ignore them. And the fights in the Tournament of Power are really just not memorable. That's bound to happen since it's so many people fighting, but when I compare it to the Tenkaichi, that's, I think, because it's a battle royale. So everything's kind of happening at once. So I totally understand that. I remember 90% of the fights there. Jiren was also a character I enjoyed. He reminded me a lot of the feelings I had about Jackie Chun. Not an evil antagonist, but an obstacle Goku had to surpass, which was enjoyable, and I really liked how it ended. It was a masterclass, and it represented Dragon Ball's best. But when I want to describe what Dragon Ball is, I think of that last episode, changing the enemies to allies. Pure hype. Give it your all, Lost Stands, and the changing of the antagonist's hearts. 8 out of 10. I already said this last time, but those last 2 episodes brought back my hope at a point where I almost felt like I might not be able to keep watching it. Mm. Mm. Then 2 more things. Number 1, the Broly movie. This was similar to how you felt. This was similar to how you felt for me about Dragon Ball. It gave me hope. I felt a lot of a lot. I felt a lot like it felt a lot like a Z story arc. I love the change to Broly, giving him a more understandable motivation and a following the new trend of villains and a following. That's not me. That's not my fault. Some of my fault is I struggle to read, like the lines are like this. Paragraphs are nice, people. Paragraphs, like spaces between all the sentences, so that like my eye can follow where to read. First of all, and then sometimes I make a mistake, like reading I instead of it. But this is not on me because it says, I love the change to Broly, giving him no comma. No comma. There should be a comma there. I love the change to Broly, comma, giving him a more understandable motivation and a following the new trend of villains not being pure evil but being misled. Full stop. The plot is simple, but it holds together strongly, and the flashback portion was really great as it was rebuilding into the lore. New paragraph. The only change I don't like is Bardock. I like the idea of Bardock being evil to contrast Goku and Grandpa Gohan's upbringing. I don't really understand. Like, even in the Bardock movie, like I said, he tried to save everyone, right? I get it. He still had a very snippy personality. Like, he was kind of mean. But it's not such a big change for me. I like the idea of Bardock being evil to contrast Goku and Grandpa Gohan's upbringing. Super Bardock is more caring, where the non-canon special had him not care about Goku at all. Okay, that part I get. I like the Z Bardock because of how much of a difference it is to Jor-El. While Super reminds me more of Jor-El, and I don't like that Toriyama changed Bardock's character to fit the Superman mythos. Other than that, the characters of the Broly movie are all strong. The new characters of Chila remind me of Bulma and added a great dynamic with her and Broly, reminding me so much of Bulma and Goku in the beginning. The fights were beautiful, and I really hope they use this art style moving forward, but it seems unlikely. Old Bardock was not a father figure, but I never thought of him as someone evil. Like, Saiyan culture was ruthless, but it's kind of like, we talked about this the other day. Who was that guy? Espada. I'm addressing exactly what you say here. Of course, to us, if you're being fucking destroyed, to you, it's evil. Anyone would say that. But the way that cultures or history, when you look at history, the perspective, the way you discuss it changes, I guess. When you're in the moment, the Attila the Hun, or what was that guy we were talking about recently? They're looking at him differently now. He united the Han, blah blah blah. He's now lauded as a hero that united a nation, even though what he did was ruthlessly murder a bunch of independent, like, was it Genghis Khan? So like, it was him. Yeah, was it Attila the Hun? Was it Genghis Khan? I don't know who it was, but in South Africa we also have someone like that, King Shaka Zulu. There are statues of the guy. He's lauded as a hero, but his people, him and his people, wiped out entire cultures and killed the men, took the women, obviously raped them, but they assimilated, and now there's like more Zulu people than any other people in South Africa. My province specifically still has Zulu kings. They live independently from the state. The state, in fact, gives them money and gifts and shit. I don't really understand why, but it's so that they can live in harmony and peace. I don't know. But my point is, the stuff that they did was horrible. It was conquering nations, but back then that's how things happened. And so if you were there, it would be horrible and evil. But apparently, like, when you look at things from a historical perspective, that's how, in fact, it's how almost every single group of humans used to do things. Look at, if you think about World War I, how did Britain and France become as France? What is it, France? I already forgot what I learned, but was it Britain and France? Booty. They had become really strong because they were united long ago. But how did they unite? Many wars and shit. And they got strong and they were united. And then a place like Germany, which was also a bunch of independent kingdoms, decided we also want to become united because clearly, look at these other places around us. If the people are united, then we're stronger. So what's that guy's name? Not the king. The one who said he will unite Prussia, not through speeches, but through blood and the iron. It was Britain and France, and they didn't want Prussia to get as strong. But Prussia had a guy called something else, and he also wanted to unite. So my point is, it's like, it's not just the Saiyans. It's like every fucking, all of our cultures exist because really long ago, that's how it worked. To survive, you needed resources. You assimilated groups of people. No, not Richthofen. It was someone else. I have it in my ChatGPT. I tried to read a little bit about it when I started watching Tanya the Evil and before. Wait. Otto von Bismarck. Yes. So Bismarck wanted to unite Prussia because it was also a bunch of independent kingdoms, and he said, I don't want to do it through speeches. We're doing it through blood and iron. But then when they were strong enough, he was like, okay, time for peace. We are united now. We are strong enough, blah, blah, blah. And then he got fired by someone else who was more bloodthirsty, and then he was like, no, we're going to keep growing. And then things went even more south from there, but it's like a whole thing. But so yeah, that's why the Saiyans they were really, really successful at that. Until Frieza came along, and then he was more successful at that. So if you were against the Saiyans, yeah, they'd be evil to you 100%, but not inherently as if they were born that way, more as just like historically powerful cultures ended up doing that because they wanted to be more powerful. I don't know how to. So yeah, but even in our own history, almost every culture at one point, the reason we survived is because the ones that came before us did that. You know? It was a law, like the laws were different, if there were even any laws. It was survival of the fittest, basically. So it was, eventually we developed different means of survival. It's not just down to who's, got the biggest club and the biggest muscles and can pull his wife to the cave the fastest. I don't know. Yeah, thankfully things have changed somewhat, but now it's all about money instead of physical strength. So Has it really changed that much? I don't know. That's a story for another day. Let's read his thoughts on the superhero movie. I have mixed thoughts about this. I loved Piccolo and pun moments and the red ribbon subplot, the slice of life moments and the character interactions of the Gamma were enjoyable. And I found Pan as a character super adorable. If Broly reminded me of Z, Hero reminded me of Dragon Ball. My main issue is when the climax happens. And I know this is mainly my opinion. Yes, I can already tell he's going to say things that I don't like. I'm just going to read through it and not say anything until the end. Just because I read it and it comes from my mouth, it's not my words. I hate how we had a redo of Gohan's not training arc again, and the way Piccolo and Gohan got stronger really irked me. Piccolo just wishes himself to be stronger by unlocking his potential, which should have happened when he fusioned with Kami, but whatever. And Gohan just unlocking Beast by getting really mad with no training at all whatsoever, while Goku and Vegeta train their butts off to reach the levels of power they need. But I mean, all of this was already established. Though, in Z, this kind of power-ups have been well established in Z. Gohan and Piccolo immediately achieve it through cheap means. I also did not like the SSJ2 parallels they did to Beast, when Beast had none of the emotions and character moments around it. But this is mainly a problem with Gohan I have that goes beyond the movie, but it still disappoints me that it wasn't resolved. Booty, where's that discussion we had a little bit about, not me and you, I think I talked about it here somewhere when I posted the movie reaction. Do you remember? It was just a little bit about, like, I think people's problems with him not training. I briefly already addressed it, but I think people, how do I say this? Like, there's a reason Goku and Vegeta were not in the movie, not just because it's not about them. Like, yes, Gohan and Piccolo had their moment to shine, but I don't think that them being strong enough to defeat Cell Max doesn't mean, why do they have to train so hard? I don't think that they would have struggled as much with Cell Max. Like, it's not like these two suddenly overtook these two. It's not like they're suddenly on the same level. I don't think anything in the story actually suggested that. But all the power-ups were just things that were very well established already in Z. And what else did I want to say? And I think you have to, since it's just a movie and we don't see what actually happens, I feel like you have to go in with a negative mindset to think that Gohan doesn't train at all. Like, just because we don't see him eat doesn't mean he doesn't eat. Just because his wife has her own job, she has a baby to take care of, just because she doesn't see him train doesn't mean he doesn't train either. Do you understand? Like, you know that song we listened to earlier? I'll be watching you, every breath you take, every step. They're not stalkers. They have their own lives. He's heavily obsessed with academics, yes. But they live in a house with, I think, multiple gems. I think every now and then he needs to loosen up his neck and his body and like, he trains. He did the makanko sapo blah blah blah. Masapo makan makanko sapo. I don't know. He did that. I think he trained for it. But that's my headcanon. I go into it with a more positive expectation. you go into it with a negative expectation. Both are fine, but we are not shown anything. And another thing that annoys me, like, people usually, oh, that character said something, so it must be true. I can tell you now, Hanku wears red pants all the time, guys. All the time. Like, all day, every day. He just always wears red pants. And it's the same pants always. He barely washes them. Like, obviously I'm exaggerating, but just because I say something, that doesn't make it true. So if I think, oh, Hanku never like tells me he loves me, he doesn't blah blah blah. That's my experience of Hanku, which is completely untrue. He tells me all the time he loves me. But you understand what I'm trying to get at. One person's experience of another person is not the objective truth of that person. So just because Vidari doesn't keep track of exactly how much her husband trains and when doesn't mean she's mostly sees him, oh, you're studying again, that you're interested in that. I don't know. I feel like if you do the makanko pachapo, makanko sappo, thank you. He trained at least a little bit. And I think after a life that like his that he led, training is like getting back on a bike whenever. You don't forget. You just kind of refresh your memory. You keep on top of things a little bit here and there. Obviously, during the time of the Frieza arc, the Resurrection F, I can't fully see, he did not train then. He completely, that was him at his lowest. After that, I think he kind of like, he saw that, yes, his dad's gonna be there and and there are other people he can fight with, but he needs to kind of stay on top of his game, at least to some extent. I don't think there was ever as much pressure, but yeah. They did try a Nostalgia Us. They even used the red line in the background. It wasn't as good as SSJ2, but I think it was still good. It's still Dragon Ball. We're not watching Shakespeare. He did struggle with Piccolo's cape. That means he was weak. For like 2 seconds, he went, oh, okay. La 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 la. If I fucking throw a ball at your face, you might like, whoa. You might stumble. That doesn't mean you can't catch. Oh, in the DMs? Okay, wait. Okay, so someone said, Vermilio said, I have to confess, the first time I watched it, I didn't like it as much as the Broly one. I know Piccolo got his spotlight with a new transformation, which I even found plausible, but some people might get mad. I didn't accept Gohan's beast form. He barely started training again, and he already got such a powerful transformation. So my response was, I don't exercise much now, but because I exercise a lot with my parents as a kid and we ate generally healthy, so I stay generally skinny and I stay generally skinny and fit, and getting back into exercise when I actually get started is pretty easy because I have a very good foundation. Like, I think it was last year I climbed a mountain. Okay, to be fair, it wasn't a big one, like Lion's Head. But last year I never exercised before that. But then I walked 2 hours up the damn thing and I did it. Like, cuz I have a foundation. I'm a generally like healthy person. You don't just. So anyway, I said, or you could see it as riding a bike or any kind of martial arts. You may not have the same stamina as when you were at your peak, but your brain has the neural pathways exist. They were trained into you, and you just need to tap into it again. I know you already changed your mind about it, though. I'm just saying this is why I accept it easily. Also, as I always say, just because a character in the show says or believes something doesn't make it true. Piccolo didn't see Gohan training, but that doesn't mean he never did. Oh, right, he's the one that said, "Why aren't you training? You should train more." But Piccolo doesn't come visit every day. He doesn't see what Gohan does every day. He clearly goes through phases where he's absorbed by his work for days or even weeks at a time, but that mansion they live in for sure has a home gym, and he said it himself, he practiced a bit for the final move he did. So that means he practiced, and he's a humble kid. I bet he didn't just practice like once a week. I think a couple of times a week when he wasn't absorbed in a specific project, he probably, like, he's a fucking Saiyan, man. He probably wakes up and quickly goes to the gym for an hour. Like, to him, compared to his dad, that's nothing. His dad eats, lives, breathes training. So, and he's humble in the first place. So probably even if he did an hour of training every day, he wouldn't even mention it because to him it looks like nothing. But yeah, I think he's still an adult. He has a job, but everyone that is half well adjusted, at least a couple of times, goes walking, gets their bodies moving. Otherwise, we get sick. So I still think even if he doesn't see himself as a training kind of person, he's just not nowhere near his dad's level, but I still think he trains. More than that though, for me, all the training he did as a kid, the latent power that was drawn out at Namek and then again for the Tournament of Power, it doesn't just go away. Even if there was a few years of minimal training, 100% his stamina probably is not the best, but I could easily believe in bursts of power during extraneous circumstances. I wrote that, extraneous. Anyway, especially when it comes to parents, mothers have been documented to lift cars off of babies because of adrenaline, like bursts of power. That's the key. You could never, like, I couldn't even pick up a 30 kilogram. But if someone you love is in trouble, your body is like, fuck the rules, I have to do this. And I mean, this is Gohan we're talking about. He was always said to have this crazy amount of potential. Like I said, everything was well established in Z for me. Even with Piccolo's power up, I don't know about the unlocking. Namekians have their own fusion, but Piccolo was never unlocked per se. So I don't really care if he needed Shenron to do it, and I don't really care if Shenron gave him a gift from the gods. Like, I always say, if the villains in the story can do crazy shit and have crazy power-ups, why not our side? Like, um what's the grandchild who invented Gamma and stuff? What's his name? Like, he just says, "I'm smarter than my grandfather," and we believe it. He invents something like the Gammas. Boom, they're as strong as Piccolo. Like, the Red Ribbon guy just goes and finds this. He never even like met his grandfather. We never got we didn't get to see exactly how he got to be as smart as he is, or how he actually, put these Gamma things together. They just get them. So why can Piccolo not just get the power up too? In a way that is similar to Z anyway. I don't know. For me, it fits into my framework. Obviously, I would also have a problem if it just was something that came out of nowhere, but I'm just trying to explain, none of these things to me came out of nowhere. He's also better. He's not better than Ghetto in some aspects, since despite being stronger, the Gammas don't have unlimited power. end of regular time, Argentina is with 10 players and still did not do a single shot in the whole match. So what is extras time now is how long? 20 minutes? $30. Oh. So Booty just added, Gohan always worked with a burst of rage. And then I added the part about parents can do crazy things when their kids are in trouble. And the Booty also said, I kind of prefer that Gohan didn't openly train that much. The obvious path for Gohan, if he trains, is to unlock a God Key and then follow the pink blue path. Vegeta showed that you can do it with training. This way, we have all of them with their own thing instead of everyone just having SSJ. Goku has Kaioken with blue and Ultra Instinct. Vegeta has his unique Royal Blue. Gohan has his Beast form. Broly has his unique legendary SSJ, and there's Orange Piccolo. It's much better than 4 blue / Ultra Instinct plus Piccolo. Each of them found their own way to unlock a different door of potential. So it's more unique, it's more interesting, it's more fun. Um, there are some DMs I need to get to, so let me just quickly find them. Nevis, are you still here? I know you messaged me. Okay, here you go. My experience with Dragon Ball, especially Super, has been a pretty long but fun ride in the last few years. I remember that until 10 years ago, I've basically never seen anything from Dragon Ball, not the classic Z or GT, and I've only heard about it every now and then. One of my friends back then introduced me to it, and I vividly remember how I first watched the Battle of Gods movie on a bus ride to a summer camp on my old Samsung Galaxy S3. After that, I started watching the Super anime, which was already at the beginning of the Tournament of Power when I started. But I think I caught up after like 2 or 3 weeks of binge watching, especially the big scenes of the Tournament of Power stayed in my head, like episode 109 and 110, the Kefla fight, and of course the big finale, which was also when Super looked it the best. Super was also one of the first anime that I actually watched, so I may be a bit biased when it comes to how much I enjoyed it. Maybe. But I do recognize that it has some serious issues. Especially back then, I remember how all the non important / lower stakes Tournament of Power episodes faced criticism in the community because of rushed and especially reused animation. Besides that, I really enjoyed the soundtrack of the series, be it the 2 opening songs or many of the other OSTs that played during the episodes. I enjoyed the more light-hearted episodes and moments, and I distinctively remember the filler episodes like the baseball or Arale one, or the scene where future Trunks meets present Gohan and can finally see him live a happy life. That's actually, like, conceptually, once again, so good. But the execution, not good enough. Story-wise, it lacked some serious depth at times, but I enjoyed the ideas and concepts, especially with Goku Black and Zamasu or Jiren and his character. Jiren needed some more time to cook, in my opinion, and deserved more than one simple flashback, which is basically 5 minutes of exposition and that's it. I enjoyed it, but I craved more story and actual character depth, which luckily the next chapter of Super provided, like the movies. Yes, Eric also. I think it would be pretty easy to be distracted by football if you have never seen, even if you never watch football, you've also never seen Super, so it makes sense that you wouldn't be invested in all of what we're talking about. I mean, there's still, guys running around. It's easier to follow than I think all of this discussion. Nevis continues. I was lucky enough to have the chance to watch the Broly movie in the cinema near me when it came out, and I loved it. An actual story and old characters renewed and made canon transformed this movie into a gem compared to Super. The unusual and experimentative art style and music also makes it stand out, and I really enjoyed both. During the next few years, while everybody yearned for more Dragon Ball, I started reading the Super manga, playing some of the games like Dokkan Battle. I'm still playing it to this day, and Xenoverse 2, DBZ Kakarot, and also I rewatched the Super anime with the English dub. Also the Broly movie, which I highly recommend. I want to start playing the games or one of the games. I like gacha games. And but I need a new phone with more space for all my games, and I also need time. But I just wanna summon some cool shit and be like everyone else, look what I got, look what I got. Superhero came at a time where I was a bit out of the loop regarding Dragon Ball and I missed my chance to watch it at the cinema, so I just did that a few weeks later at home. Especially before I saw it, the 3D animation heavily threw me off and I wasn't sure I would enjoy it, but gladly I did. I feel like I should have been thrown off by the 3D animation, but I wasn't at all. I like the return slash revival of the Red Ribbon Army. I really like Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. By the way, Cherry, Levi's voice is in that movie. I would 100% recommend you to watch it just for that movie. Like, no, you don't need context to enjoy that movie, and it has Levi's voice in it, so I really like Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, and it's always nice to see other characters besides Goku and Vegeta receiving spotlight. You should watch it with your brothers. I think it would be a fun experience. I think one of the best things about Dragon Ball is watching it with people who love Dragon Ball. Like, obviously not the type that won't let you have your own opinion, but I'm just saying, like, for the hype moments, it's so fun to, like, share it with someone. This is me shaking Hanku, like, oh my god, did you see that? Especially Piccolo and his orange form are really cool and a nice callback to the Namekians and their connection to Dragon Balls, since it feels like an actual thought out decision and a logical step on Piccolo's path to becoming relevant again. I love the way that stuff like that is expanded on, like how we have Dragon Balls because a Namekian came to our world because their world is being threatened or something. What happened there again? And then we have these tiny Dragon Balls, right? So that was already established in Z that the Dragon Balls were actually based on bigger Dragon Balls. But then we find out those Dragon Balls were based on bigger Dragon Balls. Like that is just so cool. I love stuff like that. Like I said, already well established. I think I'd love that. Definitely my dad. Yes. Do it. Do a if you ever want to plan like a dinner, host a dinner and make some Dragon Ball cupcakes for dessert and tell them we're watching Dragon Ball tonight, boys. Piccolo back had that tree and circle. The tree could represent the trees they loved on Namek, and the circle could also have meaning. Piccolo back had that tree and circle. What do you mean back had that? Back then? Back when? Nevis continues. And while I think it looks cool, Gohan's beast form, as it's called, never clicked with me, and I felt a bit out of the blue without any actual reason given as to where it's coming from or what this form is. It's kind of like Trunks' weird SSJ Rage form in the Goku Black arc, if you get me. If this form was more built up and teased, I would have liked it more. But in general, I really liked the direction of the series. While I think it's unnecessary to redo BOG and ROF a third time, yes, same here. My fingers are also crossed that they will redo the Goku Black arc. That needs a redo. Oh my god. Oh my god. If they redo the first stuff a third time and they don't redo the thing that actually really needs a redo, I don't know what to say to them. I'll finish the message first. I will still enjoy it, and I can't wait for the anime to continue into the next arc, which, without giving spoilers, will be following these footsteps if Toei stays true to the manga. Since you mentioned wanting to watch some submitted stuff, I thought about sharing this fan animation. So I'll send this to Booty because he's keeping track of all the stuff I need to react to, because I need to do that in a separate video so that I can post that for patrons, because this goes on YouTube. So, okay, Espada sent. Oh, you mean this? Oh, Piccolo's back had a tree and circle. The tree could represent the trees they loved in Namek, and the circle could have meaning. I never thought about that. Look how badass he looks, though. And he's orange like the balls. I love it. It's so cool. There's so much lore to explore. Like that. Like, oh, we had Dragon Balls on Earth. Where did they come from? Oh, originally they're from this planet called Namek. That's what they thought. The characters thought, like, at first they just thought the Dragon Balls were there and they were created by God. But then it turns out God is actually a Namekian and they had bigger Dragon Balls. And that's where they originally came from. That was our truth until we got more information. It's just like how science works in real life. Like, this is our truth. Oh, until we get more context. Those bigger Dragon Balls were not actually the original Dragon Balls. The original Dragon Balls were created by a Super Shenron. It's like, there's a lot of lore to explore. I'm really sad that Toriyama isn't still around to be able to kind of expand more and more. Okay, thank you, Nevis. This is this Mahmood? I already shared my thoughts on DBS in the anime chat, but here's another part of my experience with the franchise. I sent it here in the DM to not be included in the video. Oh. Because it has nothing to do with the super discussion. Oh, but I'm here now, so might as well. Can I read it? Can I read it? I don't know. Mahmood. It looks like I recognize this. Wait, Choru. Can I read it? Where's Choru? Choru. Okay, wait. I'll save this and come back to it. Let's quickly read Eric's message. Skip yours, okay? I'll read that later then. Okay, this one is a long one, but it's really nice, and I really need this today, so I'm gonna read it all. I've seen you've only just finally reached the glory of Dragon Ball Super Broly. Admittedly, I'm a bit of a completionist and I like to watch everything. And I've made the effort to try and watch literally all of your DB reactions. So with that, I'm behind on a lot of them and I won't be able to get to your DBS Broly reaction very soon. But you're right up. So I did a little mini review on my Patreon post. And he said, it gave me an excellent gist of what you thought and how you felt. And you said that you're welcome to DM responses. So here I am. I figured near the tail end of your main series, DB Journey, would be a good time to stop being a lurker and engage a little bit. Firstly, I must say, I'm a fan of your DB reactions, and I mean that. Not just a viewer looking to assess and judge, but I've massively enjoyed watching you get to experience everything. I like your energy and your passion for the story, and your drive and excitement towards trying to understand it and what Toriyama attempted to impart to us. You have this sounds so excessive. You have a pure and direct way with interpreting and engaging with the story that is very refreshing to view. It's very different from how I've seen some fans and even the recent new viewers alike have come to it. Because of the legacy of the series, its multiple dubbed interpretations and the way that it was released in various regions, its reputation within pop culture, filtered through fan works, parodies, memes, it makes it tricky. It's a tricky thing to discuss with other people who come at the series with all sorts of, different interpretations. I admire that you've done your best to avoid all of that with your experience and try to learn the story and the characters for who and what they are. I love how your opinions are your own and you don't feed into like more collective fan conscious ideas. Okay, so that's mostly on a review of my um that's mostly a review of my reactions, I guess, and I appreciate that. So here he continues. Similar to yourself, I tried to come at DB from a more unique point of view. So I think he means like tries not to be too influenced by the pop culture, everything that. So I'm always doing my best to view it at its core. So I'm trying to find out what it's truly meant to be about and trying to say, or what Toriyama is trying to convey. Seeing how similar you are is one of the reasons I like watching your reactions. I've done a lot of research over the last several years on a few various Eastern philosophical concepts, spirituality, and Eastern martial arts, which DB is absolutely dripping and oozing in. A lot of my thoughts and feelings on the series today are inspired by that, but honestly, more largely, it just helped me gather the right terminology and guidelines or guiding ideas to make my feelings that I've always had simple and become more defined, and even help me clarify decisions and why they were made as the story was written. So, meaning he found meaning in things that maybe not everyone else felt was like, oh, it doesn't make sense to me, but maybe because he tried to learn about actual like martial arts and stuff that inspired or that's woven into Dragon Ball, maybe just like everyone kind of fills in the gaps, he fills in the gaps from that perspective. I think Dragon Ball is a story more than worth its salt. So here is how I think the first two story arcs each beautifully set up the core themes for the entirety of the narrative going forward. Okay, the problem is it starts from Dragon Ball, but I mean, let's just go. The title of the series is Dragon Ball. The Dragon Balls themselves are tools created by Toriyama for the story, but he bases them on an amalgamation of three different Eastern concepts: the Buddhist Cintamani jewel, the dragon pearls from Chinese myth, and the Buddha Sutras from the Journey to the West. Bye. Journey to the West, especially, is one of the biggest and most integral inspirations for the story. The common characteristic of those concepts is that they all reward good intentions and pure hearts, and they punish ill intentions and impure hearts. This happens over and over again throughout the series as we see the Dragon Balls reward good and punish evil. Modern Dragon Ball, especially, has been great at exemplifying how the Dragon Balls punish ill intentions. So maybe more with like how GT showed. I don't know. He didn't say that, but I'm just trying to think. This pattern is established as a baseline for the story right from the very beginning. When Goku and Bulma meet for the first time, our two main protagonists, Bulma tried to kill Goku with a gun in their first interaction. Goku could have retaliated by choosing to eliminate her before she could try another trick. Instead, he heeds his grandpa's teaching and shows her kindness and respect. Goku is rewarded for this by Bulma deciding to bring Goku out on her adventure beyond Mount Paozu. Later, Goku meets the turtle and decides to help him to get back to the sea. Goku brings him to the sea and is rewarded by getting to meet Muten Roshi, who then rewards Goku with Kinton. And look what happened to Bulma there. Kintoun can only be ridden if the rider is completely pure of heart, and Goku being able to ride Kintoun makes it an objective truth in this world that Goku is pure of heart. Goku continues to succeed in the story not only by being strong, but also, and possibly even more so, simply being good. He meets Roshi, ultimately due to him being pure of heart. He survives the Devilman's beam in Baba's tournament because he's pure of heart. He survives, wins in the battle, and is then rewarded by being. I wanna. That's an interesting concept to me, this pure of heart thing. I don't like, I feel like some people don't like that because eventually we all grow up and become disillusioned with life and become bitter or angry or whatever. So then it becomes, I think, less easy to relate to someone like Goku that is constantly being shown as pure of heart, pure of heart. But I think the thing that summarizes it nicely for me is this kind of maika. Like, he doesn't always make the right decisions or the best decisions, but where he comes from, like, his actions often lead to like some bad things or this or that. It's not like he's good, perfectly good or perfectly perfect, or like, what I really like about it is just that he lives his life as best as he can from like the best intentions, and not even like, oh, how can I be the best person I can be today. It reminds me of a wait, I have to get the message from Nox. Both Luffy and Goku embody this kind of energy to me. Let me just find this message from Nox. It's also kind of an Eastern, from Taoism. Let me just find it. Here. The man of superior virtue is not conscious of his virtue, and in this way he really possesses virtue. The man of inferior virtue never loses sight of his virtue, and in this way he loses his virtue. So it's paradoxical in a sense. I was talking to Nox about Luffy here, but it's this, Luffy is inspired to some extent by Goku also. And Goku's inspired by this Journey to the West character, so it's kind of like, so all of these things interlink. And I said this is a difficult concept for me to understand sometimes because it's like, how can you not think about what's right, what's wrong? It's like, but to some people it just comes naturally. Not naturally like they were born with it, but because of someone like Goku's grandfather who raised him in the best way that I like, one of the best ways that I can imagine, very close to the earth, very I don't know, so it kind of became part of his subconscious framework. So he doesn't need to think about what's right or wrong. He just acts in a pure way. But it's not pure in the sense of like some holy angel. It's just simple and like, that's only that we're all humans at the end of the day. So that's almost the best that we can ask of ourselves most of the time. But I mean, it reminds me of that the speech from the Forbidden Kingdom. It's a Taoist speech. The Tao is not the thing that you can name. Once you can name it, then it's not the Tao anymore. Like, it's like that. So it's something that you have to learn the rules and then you have to do your own thing. You have to become like water, essentially, which is the most malleable thing. It's that Maika energy, you know? So Goku is this, he embodies all these kinds of ideas, but he's not, that doesn't mean he's still a human being. He's still not a human like you and me, not an earthling like you and me, in a sense. He's still a Super Saiyan, a Saiyan, but human in the sense of, the mortals, the way that Zamasu saw everyone out, that weren't gods. Like, we all have the potential for either good or bad, but if you can kind of, martial arts helps you tap into this Dao or whatever it is. But it's not something that you can name or explain, and it's not something that makes Goku better than anyone else. It's just something. Oh, go Spain. In DBZ, Goku rides the Nimbus Cloud for the last time right before he met Nappa and Vegeta, and then never again. I always wondered if he never tried again, because now that he can't escape the fact that he's a Saiyan, maybe he doesn't feel as pure of heart anymore. Or maybe it's because arguably he doesn't need it. Yeah, well, he can fly. It's like a trick of the mind. If I tell you not to think of a red square, the first thing your mind will conjure is a red square. So it's kind of like Goku never really thinks about right or wrong. He just kind of like does whatever his grandpa told him. It's so simple yet beautiful. But then if you overthink good versus bad, that can become a problem in and of itself. I mean, look at Zamasu. Look at Vegeta before. Like, there's all these different ways that it can go. But anyway, Goku is offered the position of God by Kami because he is pure of heart. He is given the permission from the Kami and Enma to meet Kaiô because of the actions he took on Earth, which came from him having a pure heart. He achieved Super Saiyan in his battle against Frieza because he is pure of heart. I don't agree with that. Goku having this kind of heart and it being one of his primary qualities in tandem with his strength is what allows him to succeed. And it's reiterated in the if Goku became a Super Saiyan because he's pure of heart, then why could Vegeta? Like, I don't really, but I think he just means like because of the kind of person that Goku was, all of those actions led to the next thing and the next thing and helped him to achieve everything. Cherry is a little bit behind Booty because Booty said goal 5 minutes ago. Not really. I think it was like a minute ago. But okay. Dragon Ball is also a story about martial arts, and martial arts is very much tied to this concept. One Piece is a story about pirates in a pirate world. My Hero Academia is a story about superheroes in a superhero world. Dragon Ball is about martial arts. Martial artists in a martial arts world. Goku's martial arts teachings under Muten Roshi pretty much underline Goku's entire philosophy to martial arts in the first place, and every conflict he takes with him going forward. Even through the most modern series and arcs, so it still comes down to the same thing. Since Roshi also taught Goku's grandfather, it's safe to say his grandfather instilled a lot of the same principles of Budo into him at a very early age. Roshi merely retaught and reinforced values that Goku already had. Ideas like practicing martial arts for the benefit of your mind, your body, and your spirit. Using martial arts to purify. Oh, right. And Espada, didn't you like point out that one thing where Goku said, what's meditation? But he's been meditating, like he kind of, but I wonder if he doesn't know he's meditating, you know? It's kind of like something that he's been taught to do, but it's once again something that comes naturally to him because of training that was so long ago. It's embedded into the framework, but he doesn't actually necessarily have a name for it. Only using martial arts offensively to directly stop someone from killing or hurting others for the sake of survival and self-defense. Using it to always become a better version of yourself, and as the big point Roshi works to teach Goku by the end of the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, to never believe that you're the best. To believe that you can always keep growing and becoming a better version of you. To always walk through life as the eternal student is the key to becoming your best. Ergo, Dragon Ball is about all the benefits and value of working to purify yourself. I would almost say refine yourself, which can, when you refine something constantly, it becomes more and more pure, right? In a sense. And become better always, as well as to teach how the core concepts of Eastern martial arts and Budo can help anyone do that. This is truly what Budo and Eastern martial arts serve to do in the real world as well. The means in which martial arts is taught within this arc is more or less a guide in how to succeed in life, in the same way that Goku succeeds in life. Like many of the examples I gave previously, this is how the first two arcs of Dragon Ball work in tandem to set up the core themes. Now, I've done a lot of rambling. I'm extremely down to discuss so much about DBS Broly with you, but just to try and start tidying this up, I want to talk about one point specifically, that being Bardock Goku's origin. I love that you love Toriyama's new interpretation of the origin, or in my mind, expansion, like tweaks and expansion. But sure, new interpretation of the origin, and Bardock because I truly love it also, and massively prefer it over the original. However, based on what you wrote, we might love it for different reasons. That's okay, I just wish to share my own idea. It's funny, fans love throwing the term retcon around in regard to so many things. But in this particular case, I don't look at the new version of Bardock as a retcon. It's more like an add-on, which is exactly what I said. It tweaks some things, but it really expands on what we could have really... Like, it tweaks who sends Goku to Earth and stuff. But it's not really a retcon so much to me as just expanding on what you could already kind of interpret. Because we didn't get a lot of details ever. As Odinoko put it, he said, it's only ever been like Goku and Vegeta's backstory. It was like this, like, overview. Okay, well, they kind of came from here. This was blah, 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 blah. But now it's like, okay, let's tweak a little things and we actually expand on what was shown, you know? I think a lot of what makes the original version what it was still applies here. In the manga, when Vegeta first meets Goku, and in the story of the original TV special about Bardock, we're told and shown that Goku was sent to Earth as a baby, since it was a regular practice of the Saiyans to use children in order to wipe out races that were deemed significantly weaker than the average Saiyan warrior. Goku's original story always had this fun irony to it, where he was sent to Earth to wipe it out, but rather he ends up saving the people of Earth from a number of threats all across the overall story of Dragon Ball. While I think that context still applies here, and that was one of my most frustrating parts of sometimes reacting to Z, because people would always be like, yeah, it was Goku's fault. You know, it was Goku's fault that the androids were created. Like, and Goku eventually started feeling guilty even, because everyone's always looking for him. But if Goku wasn't there, the Red Ribbon Army would have fucked over the Earth. If they didn't fuck over the Earth, Boo would have eventually fucked over the Earth. He already existed in that. Oh. So my point is, even if it's kind of like in real life when you have a strong competitor, a strong thing, and they have a competitor, the two drive each other. That's what a rival does. You make each other stronger. So of course, if Goku's there and he defeats one, stronger and stronger things would, like, there's always this balance in the universe. If you have this stuff, this will come out to freaking... So my point is, if Goku stayed this small, something could have defeated him, but then something will always come to defeat that, and like they kind of... But Goku just remained the stronger one for a longer time, so bigger things had to try and come and get him. But it wasn't like he was making these things, so I never liked the idea of blaming him. But for some reason, there were people like, no, but you have to admit, if it wasn't for Goku, then I'm like, no, if it wasn't for Goku, the Red Ribbon Army, Boo, like the world wouldn't even be here anymore. So it doesn't matter if the androids were made to defeat Goku and that almost destroyed the world. Like, Gero was still in the Red Ribbon Army. They were still trying to conquer the world. So how that would have gone, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. I think he only meant to change this one small... I don't think Toriyama meant to retcon the entirety of Saiyan society and culture as we know it. He only meant to change this one piece of the history. The Saiyans are still a hardened warrior race who invade and conquer other planets with their overwhelming power and might. Bardock doesn't tell Goku to make peace with the people on Earth, just to survive there, which to me implies telling Goku to survive in the way that Saiyans have always known to survive. Bardock doesn't care about doing this in order to save Goku solely. We also talked about that in the first movie. It's about any creature, their base instinct is survival. If you can't do it, that's why in our biology it's kind of procreation in a society. Some people in society are always going to want to procreate because that's like, it's in our biology too, you know? As a species, any species wants to survive. Bardock doesn't tell Goku to make peace. He only cares about doing this in order to save Goku. Bardock only cares about doing this in order to save him. But yes, it's still a big change and a swing from how we knew things before, but I feel it's thematic and in line with the Dragon Ball, with what Dragon Ball has always been about. And we also argued about that in the first video because we said, never have I ever, from any of the little bit that I know of all of Toriyama's work, I just don't see him as the kind of person, that will write a race is inherently born evil. Like, remember when we talked about that? Yeah. As Bardock is preparing to send Goku to Earth, Jenny comments on how unusual it is for a Saiyan father to care this much about their child. After this point, Bardock had largely been depicted as just another Saiyan, living the regular Saiyan life. He's not really shown otherwise as being different to this primitive race. And Bardock simply replies to Ginny by telling her that he spent so much time killing, but in that moment, it feels like he rather save something for once. The anime and the manga had different words there. Which one came first again? I don't think it really matters much. Either way, he had a suspicion that his whole race was about to be wiped out. Something weird was going on. So, feeling an inclination to save a little bit of something if he could, a little bit of what they all, like, everyone wants to leave something behind in a sense. And sometimes all you can is your kids, the next generation or whatever. So whether he did it because he said, oh, you're a softie, Jenny, as if she influenced him, or whether it's he wants to save something for once, in the face of potential annihilation, your brain might once go, maybe I should do, like, it makes sense that you can make an abnormal decision. Like, this is not something I'd usually think of, but hey, my race is facing annihilation here. Maybe I should save the kid. Just in case. I think it's normal. In the most difficult times in your life, that's when you've changed the most. Your biggest challenges change you the most. And he was facing potential annihilation. So this is just it's something that's driven purely by the man wanting to do something out of nothing more than feeling like acting on a random pinch of good karma. One small hunch and Bardock's action following that is what sent Goku to Earth. To me, this fits squarely in with the overall narrative of Dragon Ball because the entire story could easily seen as a measure of the ripple effects that, one good decision, one good action, one good choice, one good, like, ripple effect. There's a lot of examples all across the story, but there's truly none greater than simply Goku's journey as a whole. Goku's entire story in the series is about him approaching all of his various foes and opponents with nothing but good karma and pure intentions, and watching all the positive benefits that come out of Goku's entire approach, like how it changes the people he interacts with. Like, Bulma was a very selfish little girl, a rich, spoiled brat, and just through her journey, also her own struggles, and seeing how Goku overcomes them, I think a lot of people is changed along the way. And Goku himself was changed because his grandfather chose to pick him up, and despite him being a very difficult baby, he, tried to raise him at the best he could until he knocked his head, and he kind of got a little bit of a clean slate there. But yeah, the fact that now even Goku's origin story of coming to Earth is incited by a little bit of good karma feels fitting. The one small, random, and entirely unexpected good karmic act by Bardock created one of the most beneficial chain reactions within the entire universe. Because eventually Zeno was gonna wipe us all out, and Goku gave us a chance to prove ourselves. That's like from that little small act of someone as from a race as far gone, as lost, as evil, for lack of a better word, as the Saiyans, from that people, eventually the whole world, the whole universe, in fact, was saved. I've come to admire that a lot more than what the original version brought to the table, like that expansion. Anyway, I'll finally cut myself off here. If you read this, thank you so much. If you enjoy my ideas, I want to talk more about it, I'd be glad to do that. There's a lot of messages and DMs, and my head is starting to hurt. But it was also interesting, and Dragon Ball is very interesting. Like, when I started watching Dragon Ball, or before I watched it, I didn't want to watch it because I also thought it's just like a battle shonen, and they're just gonna fight and scream at each other. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, it's not just that. There's so much more to it. I'm gonna roll. No. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have the mental, I don't have the energy to react. I wanna when I react to whatever I'm gonna react to, I want it to be fun and exciting, and I feel like the whole day has been a little bit like longer than usual to me. So I don't want to watch something just because I have to. I want to feel like it. Get a Goku key. Goku. Goku. Part 3 on Wednesday. Well, the reactions on... Wait, let me see what I have planned for... Oh no, my Japanese lesson! Oh, fuck. Fuck. I keep forgetting. This week, for 2 weeks, I kept my streak. And then this week, didn't do it. Didn't do it. I don't know. Oh no. On Wednesday, it's Daima. Unless I can do Tanya, 3 episodes of Daima, and then I can do a live stream to react to the bonus stuff. It'll be a very short live stream, like 2-3 hours. But I should be able to do that. Bonus reactions. DBS. Or just DB. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know when I'm going to react to Dragon Ball. I don't know if I want to react to Dragon Ball Abridged. Like, it sounds funny. Okay, no, I'm gonna watch it. Maybe I should watch it after Daima. I just don't like the idea of it turning Goku into like this. But for the other jokes, I should start that. I should start that at some point. But then there are also the games. There's Daima. There's a lot. So let's do Daima episode 1 to 3. I'm gonna do Tanya, then Daima, and then I'll do like 2 to 3 hour stream. Hi, you're probably ending soon. Yes, thank you for your Jimbo. It was so great. I find Abridged clips funny. I get bored watching full episodes, but that's just my experience. Game over, Spain won. What's 1-0? I was out, I couldn't catch the stream. I uploaded it, so I hope you can watch it back and enjoy. So yeah, Dragon Ball Super. Honestly, I think I shared a lot of thoughts along the journey, but I think my final feelings can just be summarized with I love Beerus. I love Wiz. I liked Beerus's movie a lot. Frieza's was fine. Didn't like the arcs that they redid. Didn't hate it, but I think okay, fine. There were some extra fun moments. Cool. The animation was bothersome. They should hopefully they get, better time in the future so that the animators can do what they do best, which is animate and not paint, paint the app on your the thing. Cause a lot of it really looked like wow. But I think my expectations were just very, very high. Then there were some ups and downs, but I liked the filler. I liked almost every single concept was cool. I just got confused with the execution of Goku Black. But most of everything, like the idea behind it was really good. And then we had the Tournament of Power, which I also liked in broad strokes, but there were details that I think could have really taken it to the next level. But I say all these things in my reaction, so. But overall, I had a good experience, and the beginning and the end were very, very strong. Like, I'm talking about the last two episodes of the anime. And just when you think about the lore and stuff and how it all fits together, especially what Eric just said about, where Goku started as a character, both in what we knew originally, but then even more so with the added details from now. His journey has always been this very expansive, and it's changed everyone around him, and up to the point where we got Zeno, who was going to wipe out universes just because of, I guess for me it was the disparity between the weakest, both mentally and physically, and the strongest, both mentally and physically. Like, it was just so unbalanced. He wanted to Noah's Ark the shit out of the universes, but Goku, from being as like pure, not good, not perfect, just simply nice. He was the one that made Zeno go, okay, well, I'll give you guys a chance. And you know what's very cool? The you know what reflects, it's this great parallel between, it's a system, where you have the people, the Kaios, the Kaiosamas or whatever, Kaioshin, and then you have like the blue Kai, and then the Kai is above, and then you have, now we got the gods of destruction, but then the gods of destruction are being checked by they have an angel with them to kind of, so there's all this, it's all about balance in the universe that's trying to be, slowly but surely it keeps expanding, but it's always been about balance, right? And even when Beerus is introduced, you see him where he already planned to destroy that planet. Wiz says so, like, oh, you plan to destroy them and now you've destroyed them. But he went there to try their food and kind of like gauge them, check them, and then they tried to kill him, remember, or poison him or something. And then he says, well, yep, I guess I had the right idea, I'm gonna destroy you. Like, it's actually, when you think about this whole, it's like this whole ecosystem, not just on the world, because even if you like take a look at our world, there's in each micro system, like you have the whole world that does it, but also inside an environment like the safari or there or the ocean, you have predators, and they kind of keep each other, like if the predator overfeeds, then he has nothing to feed on and he dies out. So they kind of, the balance is very important to any system. So all of these different people have a part in the system, including Beerus. And Beerus at the very beginning, he went to that planet to destroy them, but then he he ate there first. He kind of met with the people and he saw they were shitheads, and then he did destroy the planet at the end of the day. Then you go up a bigger level and you have Zen-O, which was going to do the same thing. He was saying like, there's no balance here. This is a failed business, not a business, but so it's kind of like in my mind like an orchestrated forest. Have you seen those controlled forest fires where if they burn certain areas in a controlled sense, it means the overall forest flourishes, because then there doesn't happen mistakes where one fire goes out of control and then, so a controlled forest fire is where they, like, as much animals as possible gets out. I don't know how they do it, but then they do it and it's controlled. And in the end, the bigger environment benefits as a result from controlled destruction. So to Zen-O, he's like the furthest out there. So he did the same thing. He decided a couple of these universes, their liabilities. He was going to do a controlled forest fire. And then Goku kind of showed him there was still hope, kind of like Noah's Ark situation. And he said, okay, here's your chance. And that was their chance to show. In Beerus's case, the planet didn't show that they deserved to survive, so he destroyed that planet. But in Zen-O's case, they showed that because 17 wished for everyone to come back, they showed that they still have goodness in them. So it all does kind of come down again to that one little bit of one good decision. You don't have to be a perfect person, but just trying to do the right thing, or I don't know. In the end, we survived. And where the story's gonna go from here, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping for a space and time war, but I don't really see how that would work, but I don't know. But yeah, there's many parallels, and it's so much more than a battle shonen like I always thought. But most importantly, it's been about balance, fun, and the balance. Like even Goku's character, even Roshi's teachings, work hard, play hard, sleep good, eat good, balance. So anyway, I liked it. Even Super, I liked Super. I love the movies the most. Like, I love Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z more than I love Dragon Ball Super. But in terms of movies, I like Dragon Ball Super movies more than I think any other movies. Because, I don't know, they're really, really special. And they're canon, so that obviously changes a lot. I guess this Wednesday will be a test for animation. Animation? I'm just gonna react to the recommended videos. How many? You said there were 8? 9? I don't know about Dragon Ball Abridged. Oh, Daima. I'm not reacting to Daima live. Only the bonus reactions are live. But you mean a test if I like the new animation? I don't think they're gonna have movie animation for Daima though. You said, as far as I remember, you said like in the years where there is no new Dragon Ball content, the Dragon Ball franchise makes like $500 million less. So I see Daima as like something extra and fun, but I don't think it's gonna have movie animation. No, I don't know. They didn't learn from Super, they had movies, and I think they learned from Elbaf. Elbaf only came out recently. I don't think Daima is in Wano time, right? Or when did Daima come out? Will you watch the trailer for Daima? Is it worth it? I can watch it on Wednesday, like Daima trailer, 3 episodes of Daima. It was during the Egghead time. Egghead is still not Elbaf. Elbaf is where they perfected the balance so far for me. So if Elbow was fine though, but Daima, I know what I know about Daima is that it's past, not present. So it seems more like something lighter and fun that I don't necessarily think they're going to give a lot of budget to. I don't know. So let's just say my expectations are not super high for that. And honestly, my expectations are confused for the remake of the first arc, but they're remaking it. Oh my god, my expectations are confused, but let's just see where it goes. Okay, I'm gonna end my stream probably because I'm tired and my throat is tired, and I want to stream on Wednesday, so I want to make sure the next 2 days I recover and feel best so that I can give 110% again next week. I do have a lot to do. We have to go run an errand like 45 minutes away. And I don't know if I want to be in the car for 45 minutes because every time I drive in the car for about an hour, then all the progress that I made on my back is erased. Oh, I should roll. But yeah, I appreciate everyone who hung out and shared their thoughts. It was very interesting to hear everyone's highs and lows. It was nice, I think, especially because I got to see that I wasn't the only one who had some lows. Like I felt like a really, how to say, sometimes I felt like maybe I'm the problem just because people got mad in parts. But then I realized the ones who got mad, like the ones who were not mad weren't saying anything. They were just kind of like, it's like when you go to a restaurant that you like, you generally enjoy the food and you think, oh, I'm going to come back here. It was nice. But if you have a bad experience at a restaurant, you make sure, oh, I had a bad experience. Let me go write a review. Let me go da 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 da. People are just more likely to say negative things than positive. Or they're more excited, I think, sometimes to make sure you know when they're unhappy compared to knowing when they're happy. But I'm also thankful there were a lot of people, especially when I started to have difficulty. I started feeling really bad. I felt like I was doubting myself. Uh, and the problem with me is like when someone says a criticism of me, I first think, okay, do they have a point? And then I have to like consider maybe I am the problem, maybe it's da 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 da. And then I'm like, I come to a conclusion. Okay, I shared a fair opinion and they didn't like it, but they don't have to like. So then I become defensive because I took in the criticism. Now I have to shrug it off. So in that process, I become like a little bit defensive, a little bit. And there were people who in that time when I started, when that happened, there were people who were like, "Hey, don't worry. I like your videos," and they tried to cheer me on. So, thank you guys. Um I am looking forward to more. I'm looking forward to. I want to rewatch the movie so bad. They went by so fast. Thank you for the stream. See you. I had a great time listening to you and everyone's thoughts. Yeah, me too. The highs, the lows, and nothing changes the fact that Dragon Ball and anime brought us here together, even though we have vastly different opinions and tastes and interests and interpretations. Like, we're still here, we're still talking about Dragon Ball, we're still talking about anime, and that is a valuable experience, I think, because people nowadays, there is so much content to consume, and that's great because there are very talented people putting out a lot of great stuff. But I think it's very important to pause the consumption for a minute and reflect and engage, especially in today's society where a lot is becoming more and more artificial, and we're not really looking at each other, and we're not really talking to each other. We're mostly just screaming from, our own echo chambers, which is it serves its own purpose, but it's really good to, like I said, stop the consumption every now and then, come together with a small group of people and just like talk it out, about things that we're equally passionate about. So thank you, Espada, Booty, Odinoko, Hunter, Joan, Doji, Silent Swifty again, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the next live stream where it's going to be more reactions. Bye.